All right, well, let's talk about words that are still a buzz in many people's minds, though they may be still very mystical, if you will. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, they still boggle the minds of many people. But one man who seems to firmly wrap his head around the subject is tech entrepreneur and speaker Simon Dingle. Now, his first book, In Math We Trust, delves into the evolution of money and how we reached this point, and it looks to the future of how we can harness the power of cryptocurrency to enrich our own financial well-being going forward. Simon, great to have you here. You bring us great prospects, if I may.
First of all, congratulations on everything that you've been doing, and congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
I think all we really want to know is how much of an investment you've made in Bitcoin and when did you get on board. But I think all of this cryptocurrency in general speaks to a massive paradigm shift. How much is the world changing? Have we not quite got there yet? Where do we stand in that life cycle?
I mean, the world's always changing and we're always moving forward. Sometimes we have to take a few steps back before we take one forward. But I think what I'm enjoying about the world of cryptocurrency is that people are talking about money in a way that I haven't heard them talking about money before. People are starting to ask questions like, what is money and where does it come from? And why should only the government be allowed to make this stuff?
Where is mine?
And starting to look at events in history. Why don't we have a gold standard anymore? What was the gold standard and what came before it? And I'm enjoying seeing people who weren't thinking about these things before having that conversation. And I think that's one of the gifts that Bitcoin has given us, is this conversation and this new idea about what money is and what it could be.
Yeah, and of course right now many forms of cryptocurrency exist all across the world.
Yes.
Bitcoin right now at some 83,000 Rand per Bitcoin. But what's the responsible way of approaching it? Because I am seriously considering just taking, a few cents and going, maybe let's see, let's just dip into the Bitcoin pool. What's the responsible way of approaching this?
So the responsible way of approaching it is the same way you should respond to any of these things, which is don't spend money you can't afford to lose, right? Whether you're buying shares or whether you're buying Bitcoin or whether you're going to a casino, there's a level of risk you're exposing yourself to.
It's an investment.
And you shouldn't be spending money. So in the worst case scenario, we saw South Africans last year taking out loans to go and buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's a very bad idea. But just to touch on something you said earlier, when we talk about the world of cryptocurrency, as you mentioned, there are thousands of them out there. They're not all the same thing. You can't talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum and Tezos and all of these cryptocurrencies as if they're the same thing.
Okay.
Bitcoin was designed to be money for the internet. Ethereum was designed to be, a distributed world computer. They're very different projects. They use similar technologies like blockchain. But I think part of the narrative that's been hijacked by technology companies at the moment is that they've convinced everybody, A, that cryptocurrencies are all the same. They aren't. And B, that blockchain is the important thing and not Bitcoin. And that's absolutely false. Blockchain's an interesting technology. It's a fascination to data scientists. It's a way for computers to prove that they did something. But Bitcoin is the headline, not blockchain.
When you approach this, there's a lot of nodding heads going around here, which is, we can all pool it together and buy one Bitcoin, guys.
You don't have to buy one, and that's another misconception that's important to talk about.
Yeah.
You can buy a rand's worth of Bitcoin if you want to. Every Bitcoin is divisible by 100 million base units that we call Satoshis. So we have 100 cents in a rand, you have 100 million Satoshis in a Bitcoin. And you can buy a few cents worth of them if you can find somebody to sell them to you for that.
So 2 Satoshis.
So I think that's, back to your point about gambling and not spending too much money. You can take 10 Rand and you can go and buy Bitcoin. Be careful who you're buying it from, because there are a lot of scams out there. Yes. But you don't have to go and spend 83,000 Rand and buy a whole Bitcoin.
Was this book about answering a question that you had when you set out? What was your motivation to put this all together? Or was it like a light bulb moment? You were like, okay, I need to tell this story.
I actually wasn't thinking of writing a book at all when my publisher approached me and asked me to do it. But it was an amazing opportunity to simplify something that's very complicated. And so I think part of it was also a way for me to work through a disillusionment I had last year. There was a lot of hype around Bitcoin, a lot of misunderstanding, and unfortunately a lot of South Africans were getting scammed at the time. So we've seen Ponzi schemes, we've seen pyramid schemes, we've seen outright criminals in South Africa using the Bitcoin name because there's a lot of hype and using the misunderstanding to scam people. And so I wanted to tell a better story about this technology, about this gift to society, about what it could mean for us all, and just help simplify it. Because a lot of people are making money out of the fact that you think it's complicated and you don't understand it.
Yeah.
screw that, right? Let's make it simple. Money doesn't have to be complicated, and let's talk about what it really is and what it can really do for you.
Yeah.
How many do you have?
Stop. He's not going to answer that question. But thanks for joining us. Really fascinating stuff. And we'll follow you at Simon Dingle on social media.
Thanks, guys.
The book is called In Math, We Trust the Future of Money. I'm certainly getting myself a copy because I have been really thinking about diversifying the portfolio, if you will. So thank you very much, man.
Thanks, guys.